You're walking through an open house, right? Or, well, maybe you're just looking around your own living room right now and you're running through that mental checklist we all use to evaluate a home.
Oh, yeah. Everybody has that checklist.
You know the one. You look up at the ceiling, no water stains, so the roof must be solid. Check.
Right. You head down to the basement, and the furnace looks reasonably new.
Yeah, no weird rattling or humming sounds. Check. Then you wander into the kitchen. The countertops are like that nice quartz, and the water pressure is decent. Check and check.
But then, and this happens almost every time you walk right past the windows.
Exactly. What do you actually do? You just look straight through them to see how big the backyard is. They are practically invisible to us.
Yeah, most of the time, they are totally ignored. I mean, right up until a harsh, biting winter wind makes its absolute presence known directly inside your living room.
While you're just trying to watch a movie on the couch, right?
Exactly, because our relationship with windows is almost entirely passive until it suddenly, uncomfortably becomes active.
Which is, yeah, that's such a good way to put it.
We just expect a window to be a void, like it's just a transparent piece of the wall. We only ever notice them when they fail to do their job.
And that failure and, how completely blind we are to it is exactly what we are focusing on today.
It's a huge issue for homeowners.
It really is. So we're doing a deep dive into this really fascinating advisory piece we got our hands on. It's from Kasson and Keller.
Right, the window manufacturer.
Yeah, based in Fonda, New York. They've been operating up there since 1946. So, they've been dealing with upstate New York winters since right after World War II.
They definitely know a thing or two about cold weather.
For sure. And they published this comprehensive breakdown, and the title alone is great. It's called The Most Expensive Window is the One You Buy Twice.
That is such a brilliant title.
Right. It just completely dismantles everything we think we know about replacement windows.
It really gets straight to the heart of the home ownership trap. I mean, we get so laser focused on the initial price tag of a renovation
Oh, absolutely.
that we completely ignore the operational cost over the life of the product.
Yeah, so our mission for this deep dive is to basically shortcut your learning curve on home performance.
Which everyone needs.
We're going to extract those aha moments about why seemingly perfectly fine windows actually fail, why your local geography absolutely must dictate your design choices, and exactly what questions you need to ask a contractor.
Because if you don't ask the right questions, you're literally throwing your money out the poorly insulated window.
Literally. Okay, let's unpack this. We really need to start with the psychology of home improvement, right?
Yeah, because there is a massive contrast in how we treat windows versus how we treat literally everything else in a house. It's a profound cognitive disconnect.
Oh, it is the ultimate blind spot. Just think about your last remodeling project. We will spend hours, literal days, agonizing over the exact shade of white paint for the living room.
Oh, the paint debates are endless.
Is it Navajo white? Is it Swiss coffee? We obsess over whether the flooring should be white oak or maple. We debate countertop edge profiles.
Right, you're scrutinizing cabinet hardware down to the millimeter.
Exactly. But windows, they often just become a mere line item on a spreadsheet.
It's a decision made in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, and almost always based entirely on whoever gave the cheapest quote.
Which makes absolutely no sense when you think about the function of those items.
Yeah.
And you're agonizing over paint, which is purely aesthetic.
Right, you can change paint in a weekend.
Exactly. With a roller and a $50 bucket of primer.
Yeah.
But a window is an active structural barrier.
It's a machine, really.
It is. A window directly influences 5 daily realities of your life. Your
Yeah.
indoor temperature, your home's energy efficiency, the noise levels from the street, air infiltration, and, long-term maintenance.
Paint doesn't dictate whether you shiver in your kitchen in January. Windows do. It's like buying a used car solely because it has a gorgeous custom paint job, but completely ignoring whether the tires have any tread left to actually keep you on the road in a rainstorm.
That's a great analogy. You're prioritizing the surface over the system.
Right. So picture this scenario from the text that perfectly illustrates the trap. A homeowner in the Northeast buys a new house, and the listing proudly says it features newer replacement windows.
The infamous newer window.
I know, right? So the homeowner does their mental checklist. At first glance, everything seems flawless. The vinyl frames look clean and white. The glass is perfectly clear.
They unlock them. They open and close without a fight.
Yeah, the homeowner thinks, great, one less massive project I have to worry about. But then late November arrives.
And this is where the critical difference between looking fine and performing well reveals itself.
The temperature drops below freezing, those brutal winter winds roll in, and suddenly the house just feels off.
Certain rooms are inexplicably colder than the rest.
Especially the rooms on the west side of the house. On really windy days, the homeowner can literally feel the weather outside, making its presence known indoors.
But here's the crazy part. Nothing was dramatic.
Right, nothing was obviously broken, the glass wasn't cracked, the frames weren't falling out of the wall.
They just weren't performing. And this raises an important question. Why do we assume that if a piece of glass is unbroken, it's doing its job?
It's a huge assumption.
It is. This homeowner realized the hard way that a window isn't just a pane of glass. It's a piece of climate control technology.
Wow, yeah.
If it's doing its job poorly, your furnace is working overtime, your comfort is compromised, and you are quietly bleeding money every single day.
Which brings us right to the financial fallout. Because if you ignore that technological aspect, if you just treat a window like a piece of drywall, what do you naturally default to?
You buy the absolute cheapest option the contractor offers.
Exactly.
It's the false economy of the bottom line. When homeowners compare 3 quotes, they almost always just look at the final number at the bottom of the page.
Right, the grand total.
But a less expensive window saves you money only on installation day. That's it.
But wait, let me push back on this for a second on behalf of the listener, because I think this is the exact trap we all fall into.
Okay, go for it.
If a window is brand new out of the box from a factory, shouldn't it at least keep the wind out? I mean, even if I pick the cheapest quote, a brand new piece of plastic and 2 panes of glass should seal a hole in the wall, right?
It makes sense on the surface.
How can a new window be bad?
It's a totally logical assumption. But if we connect this to the bigger picture of building science, it completely falls apart.
Okay, how so?
The hidden costs compound incredibly quickly. Because a budget window might look identical to a premium window from 20 feet away, but its performance is dictated by metrics that are completely invisible to the naked eye.
Right.
We're talking about things like the U value.
Oh, let me take a stab at explaining U value. Because that sounds like dense contractor jargon, but it's actually pretty intuitive once you grasp it.
Go ahead, it's a crucial concept.
Think of U value like a thermos for your coffee. You want the thermos to stop the heat of the coffee from escaping into the cold air outside.
Right.
U value is just a measure of how well a window resists that exact type of heat transfer. So you want a really low U value.
Exactly.
A low U value means it's a great insulator.
No.
A high U value means your expensive furnace heat is essentially bleeding right through the glass in the frame into the winter night.
That is a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And building on that, the glass is really only half the battle. You also have to look at air infiltration ratings.
Which is what, exactly?
It's how much physical air actually passes through the frame and the weather stripping when the wind blows against it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a cheap window might have inferior flimsy seals. Or worse, the frame itself lacks structural integrity.
Wait, meaning the frame actually bends?
Exactly. Vinyl expands and contracts with temperature changes. A cheap, thin vinyl frame will warp slightly over time. And even if it warps by just 1 or 2 millimeters, that creates a microscopic gap between the sash and the frame. Suddenly, your seal is broken, and that winter wind is cutting right into your living room.
So those hidden costs just start piling up on the homeowner. You get higher heating bills because your furnace is fighting to replace the heat escaping through the glass.
Yep.
You get reduced comfort, meaning you might not even want to use certain rooms in the winter. You hear way more outside noise because poor insulation also means poor soundproofing.
All of that. And then, the ultimate hidden cost premature failure.
Right.
The cheap hardware gets stiff, the warped frame makes it impossible to lock, and you just have to replace it.
Hence the entire premise. The most expensive window is the one you buy twice.
Exactly. You pay $10,000 for the cheap windows, you pay elevated energy bills for 10 years, you suffer through cold drafts.
And then you have to pay another $15,000 to rip them out and install the quality windows you should have bought a decade ago.
It's a brutal cycle.
Okay, so clearly, quality materials matter over a cheap price tag. But frankly, that's just step one. Because there's a twist here that completely blew my mind in the reading.
Oh, the style mismatch.
Yes. Apparently, even if you spend top dollar on a highly rated premium window, it can still fail miserably if you get the geometry wrong for your house.
This is the clash between architectural style and local geography.
Let's go back to that northeast homeowner with the freezing west-facing wall.
Hmm.
Why was that specific room so cold?
Well, it wasn't just that the previous owner bought cheap windows.
Right. It was because they had double-hung windows facing directly into the prevailing winter winds.
Let's define that quickly for the listener. A double-hung window is the classic traditional style where the bottom sash slides up and the top sash slides down.
It's exactly what a kindergartner draws when you ask them to draw a house.
Yes, two little squares.
Mm,
And the crucial mistake homeowners make is assuming they should automatically replace a window with the exact same style that is
mhm.
already sitting in the opening.
Right. The thought process is just, well, it was a double hung before, so I need to order a new double hung.
Exactly. But geography dictates design. For high-exposure areas, think hillsides, open fields, lakefront properties.
Anywhere that gets battered by strong directional winds.
Right. In those areas, a sliding window is a massive vulnerability because of the inherent physics of how it operates.
So what's the recommendation then?
It's vastly different. You need a casement window.
And the mechanics of why a casement window dominates in a windstorm are so simple, but so brilliant.
They really are.
Think about how a double hung works. You have two sashes sliding up and down on tracks. For them to slide, there inherently has to be a little bit of clearance, right? A tiny gap.
Right. Otherwise, they wouldn't move.
Exactly. Weather stripping tries to fill that gap, but when a heavy wind hits the glass, the pressure actually pushes the sash away from the seal.
It's fighting the design.
But a casement window doesn't slide. It closes on a hinge, exactly like a door, usually operated by a little hand crank.
Which completely changes the physics of the weather seal.
Exactly. Instead of sliding tracks that wind can whistle through, a casement window acts like a bank vault door.
I love that analogy.
When you crank it shut and lock it, it pulls the sash tightly against a compression seal. And here's the genius part. When that brutal winter wind hits the outside of a casement window, the pressure of the wind actually pushes the window harder into the frame.
It uses the environment to seal itself even tighter.
Yes.
You are utilizing positive pressure to your advantage rather than fighting it. But there's a major psychological trap here for the homeowner.
What's that?
Most people don't discover this architectural mismatch until years after they've bought the house or replaced the windows.
Because what do? You just sit on the couch in a sweater and assume, well, it's an old house, it's just drafty.
Or, wow, the wind is just really aggressive today.
Right. You completely missed the fact that a simple change in the mechanical operating style of the window could have solved the draft problem entirely.
You didn't need more insulation in the walls. You needed a compression seal instead of a sliding track.
Ah, that hurts to think about.
And by the time you figure that out, fixing it means ripping out a perfectly good, expensive window and starting over.
So if replacing a wrongly styled window is incredibly expensive, the onus is on us, the homeowners, to prevent that mistake before the contract is even signed.
Absolutely.
But how do we actually vet the people selling us these things? Because it can be super intimidating to have a contractor sitting at your kitchen table throwing numbers around.
It really can.
To fight that, we are going to arm you with a 15-year interrogation guide based on the Kasson and Keller material.
And you really should view it as an interrogation. You are hiring them to protect your home's envelope. The very first question you need to ask is directly related to that bank vault analogy.
Right.
Is there a better window style for this specific location?
Do not let a contractor just walk around the outside of your house, look at your old double-hung windows, and just write down 10 double hungs on their clipboard.
No, make them justify the style.
Ask them, hey, this side of the house gets hammered by the wind coming off the lake. Should we be looking at casements here?
If they brush that off,
Yeah.
that's a huge red flag.
Definitely.
The second question is about regional performance. Ask them, how will these perform in a Northeast winter? Or, depending on where you're listening from, a Midwest blizzard or a brutal Southern summer.
Because a window looks absolutely beautiful sitting in a 72-degree showroom.
Exactly. You need the contractor to explain the mechanics of how it performs when it's 10 degrees outside.
Which means forcing them to explain the technology inside the glass. You need to ask about low E coatings and triple pane glass.
Which sound like buzzwords.
They really do. Let's explain what those are. So low E stands for low emissivity. Imagine taking a completely transparent, microscopically thin layer of silver or metallic oxide and coating the glass with it.
Okay.
It acts almost like a bouncer at a nightclub for temperature.
A thermal bouncer.
Exactly. It lets the visible sunlight inside, But when your furnace creates heat in the winter, the low-E coating reflects that radiant heat back into the room instead of letting it escape through the glass.
That's incredibly smart.
And in the summer, it does the exact opposite. It reflects the sun's heat away from the house to keep your air conditioning inside.
And then you pair that with the structural design of the glass itself. When a contractor suggests triple pane over double pane, they aren't just adding another sheet of glass for fun.
Right.
They're creating multiple sealed chambers inside the window, and those chambers aren't filled with regular air.
Right. They pump them full of argon gas.
Because argon gas is denser than regular air. It acts as a heavy, invisible blanket that physically slows down the transfer of temperature from the cold outside pane to the warm inside pane.
Wow.
If a contractor can't explain that basic physics to you, they are just an order taker, not an expert.
That actually perfectly explains the next trap we need to navigate, the warranty.
Yeah.
Because it's not enough to just ask, does this come with a warranty?
Oh, a simple yes is one of the most dangerous words in home improvement.
It really is. You have to break it down. How long is the coverage? Is it prorated? And most importantly, is labor included?
This is huge.
Because a massive national company might give you a lifetime warranty on the physical window sash.
Right.
If the seal fails and it gets foggy, they will mail you a new sash for free.
Which sounds great.
Right, but they might charge you $500 just to send a guy out to your house to pop it into the frame.
Which completely defeats the purpose of the warranty. This raises an important question you must ask. If I have a problem 5 years from now, exactly who do I call?
Good question.
Are you calling the local guy who installed it? Are you calling a manufacturer 3 states away? Are you getting routed to an outsourced call center? You need to know who actually owns the problem if things go wrong.
So let's put this all together. You are standing in your kitchen. You have 3 wildly different price quotes from 3 different contractors. What is the ultimate goal here?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the goal isn't what we naturally assume. The goal is not to buy the cheapest window.
Right.
But importantly, the goal isn't necessarily to buy the most ridiculously expensive ultra-premium window either. The goal is to buy the right window for your specific home.
Because the most expensive window is the one you have to replace before it's time.
Exactly. So the final question you arm yourself with is the comparison question. What am I getting with your window that I'm not getting with this cheaper quote?
A good contractor will light up at that question.
They should. They should be thrilled to explain the thicker vinyl frame that prevents warping, the advanced argon gas fills, the heavy-duty locking hardware.
And why those specific upgrades will actively save you money over the next decade?
Yes. It is about taking the invisible, deeply technical parts of a home and forcing them to become visible during the purchasing process.
Because once they are installed, they're going to become invisible to you again. You are going to go right back to looking through them at the backyard. And if you did your homework, that's exactly how it should be.
We started this conversation by recognizing that windows are treated as an aesthetic afterthought.
Yeah.
Just a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
But by understanding the mechanics, how a wind-facing casement acts like a vault door, how metallic coatings bounce heat back into your living room, how dense gas stops thermal transfer, you take control of your home's envelope.
And as we wrap up, there's one final ultimate litmus test to run in your head before you ever sign a contract.
The big question.
Ask yourself, will I still be happy with this decision 15 years from now? Because 15 years down the road, will that budget window still be gliding open smoothly, or will you be wrestling with it every spring?
Will the seals be tight, or will you be feeling the January wind from your couch?
It is the ultimate clarifying question for any major home purchase.
It really is.
But, looking closely at the background of Kasson and Keller, it brings up a new angle that I want to leave you, the listener, with today. Something to mull over as you walk through your own house.
Okay, what's that?
Right at the end of their material, they highlight their company motto. It simply says, "Made in the Northeast for the Northeast."
That is a very specific, almost aggressive regional pride.
It is. But it raises a really profound philosophy about modern homeownership and how we build things today. We just spent 20 minutes discussing how a window needs to be hyper-engineered for the specific microclimate of a Northeast winter to truly work efficiently.
Right.
And it makes you wonder about everything else in our homes. Historically, architecture was regional. You built steep roofs where it snowed heavily, and you built deep wraparound porches where you needed shade from the southern sun.
And today, we've largely abandoned that for mass-produced building supplies.
Right. We just order standardized generic parts from a global supply chain. So if a generic window fails because it wasn't built for a local blizzard, what other one-size-fits-all materials in our homes are secretly failing us right now?
That's a great point.
Is our insulation, our roofing material, our HVAC system underperforming simply because they were designed to be good enough for everywhere instead of being perfectly engineered for the actual specific climate we live in?
That completely reframes how you look at the entire structure around you.
Yeah.
It really challenges the assumption of standardization.
It really does. It makes you realize a house isn't just a box. It is an active machine fighting the local environment.
A machine you have to maintain.
So next time you are walking through a house, running through that mental checklist, don't just look through the windows. Look at them. They have a lot more to tell you about how your home is performing than you think.